Welcome to the Box Score Sports Podcast.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Box Score Sports YouTube channel. I'm your host, Ryan, and this is just going to be an instant reaction to the Lions getting beaten pretty bad, waxed, if you will, by the Baltimore Ravens, 38-6. Before I continue on, we're just going to talk about this game, takeaways from this game. I actually put notes down today that I wanted to hit on a couple notes as well. Before we continue, though, I just want to say, if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Check out our podcast. Because, one thing about the podcast we talked about last week was I kind of hit on the point of, like, this is a good measuring stick for the Lions. They have had really dominant performances, and good teams do that. Like, they beat average teams, they beat bad teams, and they do so in a way that's convincing. But now you're going up against this team in Baltimore, who I believe had a bye last week. I could be wrong about that. I should really check that out before I open my mouth. But regardless of no, they did not have a bye last week. But regardless, the Baltimore Ravens, they were in London actually last week. Yeah, so that's a little bit. The point is the Ravens are a really good team. They have one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. He's definitely like a top 7, maybe top 5 quarterback. And this was sort of a good measuring stick for the Lions. So I was super excited. That's the thing I brought out in the podcast. Like, basically, this is a team that the Lions can really measure themselves, see where they're at as a team going on the road against Baltimore. Now, granted, we also have to remember that the NFL season's long. You're going to have these wins. We're going to have these types of wins where you dismantle teams, and you're going to have bad losses at times. Sometimes it's like a rock, paper, scissors thing. And sometimes it's just the wrong team at the right week, or the right team at the wrong week, or whatever, however you want to phrase it. And I think that's something that could have happened here. So I will answer that question I put on the thumbnail about whether or not I think the Lions are actual contenders, or is this show that they're a pretender? But before I do, let me know in the comments below, what were some of the takeaways of this game? Maybe some concerns you have moving forward with Detroit, and maybe a positive thing. And we'll hit on all that. But a couple things, let's get into the game. Lamar Jackson obviously played awesome. I'm going to focus on the Lions, though. One thing, I have four 20-plus yard plays in the first quarter. And when the announcer said that, it was funny. He said there was the first quarter that the Ravens had 20-plus yard plays. Like, the corners were playing so far off the receivers. I don't know why they didn't kind of like bump them off their spots and, make Lamar make more difficult throws. If you look at some of the throws he made, they were really simple throws, like people wide open. But some of them were like great throws. Like, they were all good, like great throws, but I mean like more difficult throws that he made look easy, like great throws. And that's why Lamar gets the money he does. But as he was saying that, he went to the fullback for like a 34-yard gain. So that was 5 plays in the first, 5 big 20-plus yard plays in the first quarter, in the first drive of the second half, and they kept on just loading on the Lions. It was big plays after big plays after big plays. At the end of 3 drives, the yards totals were 245 to 6 yards after the first 3 drives of the game, if I added that up correctly. The first 3 drives for the Lions were all 3 and outs, and the beating got so bad that the local channel here, like I got Sunday Ticket, but they don't show local games on Sunday Ticket. So they actually took the game off the local channel here that had it on and went to the Bucks and Atlanta game. That's how bad of a blowout it was. And then the announcers kept on saying something that, kind of concerned me. And this is going to be my first point. The Lions really missed David Montgomery. And it's not that I don't agree with that. I think they're absolutely right. But that's a concern to me, because we did spend a first-round pick, a 12th overall pick, mind you, on a running back that is having a hard time replacing David Montgomery. Now, I know what the simple answer is to that. Well, they're different types of running backs, Ryan. Well, I know that. But if you're drafting a running back that high, right? If you're drafting a running back that high, he has to be a guy that can do it all, because you do not want I mean, I wouldn't even draft a running back that high. I would go with, like, Robinson is a do-it-all running back. That's the guy you want. And Gibbs, I'm thinking he can be, but for some reason the Lions are not as bullish as they claim to be on this guy. Otherwise, he would have a lot more production. Now, this was the most productive game that he had. He had over 100 yards, so that's a good sign. That he had 20 touches. That's a good sign. He got his first touchdown in week 7 of the NFL season. But it's just, we were sold on this, and I'm going to keep coming back to this, is that they drafted Campbell and they drafted Gibbs in the first round. That they sold the Lions fans, they sold us on the fact that they would be instant players, as far as like making an impact, instant impact players. And they're just not. They're not instant impact players. And sadly, that's what the Lions need right now. And it's good that he had a good game. Part of that, I think, was it was a blowout, and you throw the ball a lot, you get a lot of checkdowns. And then they had that one widespread run. I think it was for 21 yards. So it shows how explosive Gibbs can be and the potential he has. But again, I keep going back. Wouldn't you rather have Swift at this point, and like Jalen Carter or Gonzalez there, that corner in New England, like one of those guys? I mean, or another wide receiver. I don't know. That's sort of how I feel after this game, and it's probably just like instant reaction stuff. Maybe I'll get over it, but I go back to this. That's the first thing. Like, if we are missing David Montgomery that bad, and that has to be reiterated over and over and over again, I think the Lions have bigger problems if against a great team or a good team, that we miss that type of player who was signed for very cheap in the free agent market, and a lot of players can play that role that David Montgomery plays. Now, David Montgomery is playing a really important role. I don't want to diminish what he's doing, but that's the first takeaway that I had. The second takeaway, the defense was awful. And, I do feel kind of bad, because, like, the more the defense is on the field, there was a time in the game when the Lions, I'm trying to see, I took actually a picture. I think the first 3 drives, the third down efficiency, they were 0 for 3. The Ravens were 4 or 5, and they converted that first down. But the time of possession was 17 minutes to 5 minutes. And at some point, your defense breaks down more and more and more and more when they're on the field longer and longer and longer. And I think, like, the offense didn't really help the defense. Now, with that being said, there's 2 things I noticed with the defense. Number one, you got to play press coverage and make Lamar pass the ball. The window's a little tighter on Lamar. They were playing soft coverage, and he was getting big windows to throw. And sometimes, I'm not trying to take anything away from Lamar. I'd rather have Lamar. Like, I think he's, again, I want to make it very clear, he is a top 7 to 5 quarterback in this league. I'd have to make a list, but he's up there. He's one of those guys that you want at your quarterback position for the next 10 years. But a lot of the throws he made were pretty simple throws. People were wide open, and some of them he made were incredible throws. His patience, his precision, his throwing on the run. And that's the type of quarterback that, man, if the Lions had, and we'll talk about Goff, that's going to be the third thing, but it changes just what a team is able to do and what they aren't able to do, because a quarterback that great, the Mahomes, the Burrows, the Lamars, the Patrick Mahomes, those type of quarterbacks, they're able to, when things get tight, make big plays in order to extend drive. Josh Allen's the same way, extend drives to get points or make a play out of a play where there's nothing there. And that is what they were doing to this defense. So even though I feel like a little bad, I just didn't think the defensive game plan was great. And I would also say, other than Hutchinson, we really the Lions need a second pass rusher. There is no doubt in my mind that's what they need. They need to get, um, go out in the trade market and see if like a Max Crosby or a Chase Young is available, someone like that, because they really need a second pass rusher. They do. And, Hutchinson can get to the quarterback every single play, every single time. But man, can somebody else consistently get to the quarterback on this team? Can we at least get somebody to do that? Can we go out and get somebody in free agency the trade market? I really think the Lions need to do that. Now, the third thing I learned, and this is not, I was talking to Lions fans this past week because even though Goff has been amazing, he's been putting up, I will say, elite numbers. If you look at statistically, I don't call him a franchise quarterback. And some Lions fans got disappointed or upset at me, and maybe I'm wrong. But this is a game in particular why I'd look at him and say, well, he's not a franchise quarterback. A franchise quarterback to me is the Mahomes, the Lamars, the Joe Burrows, those types of quarterbacks who can carry a team when the team's at its lowest, when you keep getting injuries, when you don't have enough around you, when you're getting a ton of pressure. They're able to make plays, right, and not make mistakes. Where Goff, he's limited because he's not a mobile quarterback. But there was even a couple plays where you saw and you're like, man, Goff, that was just not a good decision. That wasn't a good decision. They had that one play, and some of these were when the game were out of line. But I think in the first half, he took a sack out of bounds instead of throwing the ball away. He at the end of the first half, he threw an intentional grounding call, which I didn't quite understand what he was doing there. I know he was getting pressure, but he should have threw it to the spot where Gibbs would be, because that's, if Gibbs would have caught the ball, I think he would have got a touchdown. And again, that's easier said than done. Look at me on the couch saying this is what he should have done. But really, that's what quarterbacks, really great quarterbacks, would have found a way to get Gibbs the ball there, right? And then instead of, or not get intentional grounding, one or the other. And then that 4th and 1 play, he threw it deep on 4th and 1. I mean, maybe that was the play call, and I'm not going to blame Goff for that. But this is why I can't get behind him as a franchise quarterback. Now, can he be your quarterback for the next 5 to 8 years? Yeah. Ryan Tannehill was the Miami Dolphins quarterback for 8 years. He was fine. I think Goff's a little better. Kirk Cousins, look at how good Kirk Cousins is. His stats are amazing. But would you say he's a franchise quarterback? No, right? I wouldn't anyway, right? I think a franchise quarterback is so unique and rare. If we just call all 15 good quarterbacks franchise quarterbacks, then nobody ever really needs a franchise quarterback, in a sense, where we got to be really careful who we call a franchise quarterback. So I'm still under the impression he's just not. He can't make the big plays. When things start piling on him, he makes mistakes, or he can't overcome them. It's not just him. It was a total team meltdown. I want to be very clear, but there's some quarterbacks that can get above what their meltdowns of their teams, right? Like if the team's defense ain't working, okay, well, I'm just going to go out here and throw for, 4 touchdowns. That's what I'm going to do to keep my team involved. Goff I have not seen him have that ability to do that quite yet against a great or a good team, a playoff team like the Ravens are. So that is the last thing I'm going to say. And it's not a knock on Goff. Again, this is just one game. I'm just trying to be real. And I know that might upset some Lions fans, and I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel. Now, let's just talk about this last thing. So those are the 3 things I sort of learned. But this is the last thing I'll say, is I think the Lions are still have the potential to be a contender. I would still say they are a contender. I would say, just a positive thing. They got Gibbs going. That's awesome. They got hit in the mouth. Let's see how they respond to it. They're still a contender in the sense that the NFC is not that great of a conference. And the NFC, because it's not a great conference, there's only a couple of moves or injuries that can get them to the Super Bowl. So I'd like, again, to see them to get another pass rusher and or another playmaker on offense to relieve more pressure off of Jared Goff, or unlock Jamison Williams. That would be nice too. One of those 3 things, or all 3 of those things, would be awesome, and spend draft capital doing that. I think the Lions will be good. They're still contenders to me. I know I got maybe some of you with the thumbnail, but I just wanted to have a little fun with it, because even though after this bad loss, we're still 5-2. The Lions are still 5-2. They're 3-1 on the road. They're doing this is a really good year for them. So hopefully they learn from this loss and they rebound from it. And maybe this was just a case of rock, paper, scissors. They were a rock and they went up against some paper, or they were some scissors and a rock came in, whatever way you want to look at it. And we'll see how they rebound. But overall, disappointing game. It was a measuring stick game, in my opinion. And even if they would have lost by like 3, I would have still been kind of excited about the fact they only lost by 3. Losing this way makes me a little concerned. But 1 week, we're going forward. We're moving on. Again, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And guys, we will talk to you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching this clip of the Box Score Sports Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter or X. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. See ya.